day where we hold bagel festivals.
Right. Yeah. Or a celebration of the festival. Or is it? Also, I don't know.
This isn't a national holiday? I never bring that up. Like, they always
None
say
of these are national holidays. That's true.
You know, I've never brought this up before about the bit that we open every show with, but
they're not
a real holiday.
We don't celebrate these.
You ever notice that, you guys?
This is weird. Is something fishy here?
Because we don't get
something feels off.
We don't get off work for this. We're not. There's no celebration of any of these holidays for years, for 3 or 4 or 8 years. God, I don't know how long it's been. I don't want to think about it.
We should take this up with the National Day calendar. Jonathan, what's going on in the news?
Oh my goodness, another week.
I got to this quickly today.
We're on like 6 straight weeks of breathless introductions to the news because holy hell, it happened. It really happened. Joe Biden announced he would no longer seek re-election. The Democratic Party in record time came to an agreement, essentially. They coalesced around Kamala Harris. She is, are we calling her the presumptive nominee, or is it not technically presumptive? She's going to be the nominee right now, barring,
one presumes,
I don't know, another thing happening this weekend or next week or whatever.
Totally wild. I just want to acknowledge for myself and viewers and listeners, I truly, as we started this, I'm like, have we not, like the news is such a soup to me the last few weeks. I just was in my head like, wait, we didn't talk about this last week. No, this is so recent. This has happened so fast. What did we talk about last week? Last week, Donald Trump being shot at. Maybe not actually being hit with a bullet, but being shot at. Too, yeah. And I just had to sneak that in. Yeah. So my brain is just so chaotic trying to keep track of the fact that everything is dramatically different every day.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But we have talked about this, but the collective we has not. It's interesting. Yeah, it just immediately became Kamala, whether... I'm not going to rag on Kamala. There's lots of hope happening right now. It's very exciting to see this week. I never considered her a strong candidate since 2020. She became the vice president. And at the time, I was like, why? And here we are. And I'm thrilled at the groundswell of momentum. And I do think it's probably the most logical choice, especially with, fundraising and campaign finance laws. But sources say that Joe Biden was very disgruntled by being pushed out and would only step aside if he got to choose the candidate, is what they're saying. And he just immediately barreled forward with it. And that's what happened.
Yeah, he's the president. He won the primary that we definitely had. Yeah, it's frustrating. We'll have many months to talk about Kamala Harris, and she's already done and said some things that are good and done and said some things that are less good, and there are reports that are good and reports that are less good, and the hope is that she kind of takes a lot of a cue from Biden domestically and doesn't push back a lot there, and also does push back on a lot of his foreign policy. She doesn't seem to care about NATO in their speeches, which is refreshing because I don't think anybody actually does, people who vote. But it is just sort of frustrating because, as we've said, it would have been nice if he did this many, many, many months ago, as he has now admitted was originally his plan to be a transitional candidate. He said that on camera years ago, and he said it on camera now.
We can't acknowledge that enough. I just want to interject to say we can't highlight that enough because I feel like I got a lot of shit when I mentioned this several times, and people were mad at me.
It was not an official announcement. It was a lot of it was vibes, but he did intend to do that, and he did say out loud recently that was his intention. But he didn't finish the job, so bad job, Joe. But it's just a little frustrating. Like even in his statement, and he spoke. So he sent out a letter on Sunday, and then he spoke on Wednesday. And he's framing it like, it's time for me to step aside and be the transitional candidate. And that is all well and good, but that's not why he's stepping down. He's stepping down because they were like, Joe, you got to do this. He wasn't going to. He had no intention of doing that. And if he did, then he would have spent his administration and his years as president lifting up people in the future to be these candidates, specifically Kamala. So it's obviously like the choices. This is the least chaotic choice, and makes various amounts of sense and whatever. It is just sort of frustrating that we're at this point where like now like the narrative has shifted to like I'm a transitional candidate and it's time to pass the torch. Like you didn't want to do that. You weren't doing that. You did a bad job of doing that. And that you could have done a much better job and we wouldn't be in this position, but the enthusiasm is good.
That said, okay, so I did want to lead with some of that because those are my true feelings. I am genuinely thrilled to see the energy that's coming up, that people feel a week ago, despair, now hope. And that's so obviously important because not just regardless of the presidential race, I'm very concerned about people showing up to vote for down ballot races. And I feel much better. Okay. Anyway, Jonathan, how much has she fundraised?
I
can read it, but I'll let you do it.
As of Wednesday, 1.4 million individuals had already donated $126 million to the campaign. We're either in a honeymoon phase or that honeymoon phase may be ending if her statement about the protests for Netanyahu today are blunting it. It's very tough to tell from my perspective because it's online. It's like vibes based. The nation's liberals may be so enthusiastic that it's not Biden and it's someone else. And it feels like we got a real chance to beat Trump now that we're just going to cruise. Or, she could maintain his same policy toward Gaza and really blunt that enthusiasm. It's kind of tough to know what's going to happen over the next few months.
And there's like reports of like, certain donors trying to get concessions and, getting rid of Khan at the FTC. The various positions that Biden has appointed that were like good decisions. We've talked about on the show, this and the YouTube show, where it's, just, I don't know. It's hard to tell because they're just reports of like, well, donors give money and said this. We don't know what she's going to do in response to that. Although, Democratic Party, we can guess what will happen there. But we don't know. So it's just, let's ride it out. Let's climb that coconut tree.
I actually kind of was wondering if anybody else felt this. I mean, there is a lot of excitement and it's really, for the first time in a long time, kind of uplifting to be on social media instead of in this dark cloud of despair. I mean, there's still that too, but it seems like people are, if not like, elated, very cautiously optimistic. And I think it makes me kind of nervous because it feels like the higher you kind of elevate somebody, the harder they fall. And so, I don't know, I've just very, since 2016, it's giving me that 2016 energy a little bit around the Clinton campaign. And I'm like, this didn't end well. And I'm not sure it will again.
I totally have felt that too, especially like with a lot of like the memes and some of the taking of the memes from people who shouldn't be doing that kind of thing. Let people do that. The brat summer kind of thing. There's a way that this can go that is like overly confident and very like just 2016 coded in a way that is a little nerve wracking. I also do think we are in a different position from having Trump be the actual president for a while, and what we've seen with the Republican Party getting weirder and weirder, this parade of freaks that they continue to present us with, and Trump talking about Hannibal Lecter being real now, and like from the film Silence of the Lamb, whatever. But so I think it's slightly differently positioned, and I think he was even out on the trail saying like they're trying to do like the prosecutor against the criminal, and I don't think that's going to work. He thinks it's going to work. That's why he's saying it's not going to work. And I hope that they lean towards, there's rumblings of like, oh, we're going to lean in on like these guys are weird. I'm okay with that. Don't